try to increase your income as much as possible and live off 50% or less. And the rest of it invest it to make more income. It's as simple as that.
Welcome back to the Wells of Wealth podcast, guys. And today we have a super special guest that's near and dear to our hearts, both of our hearts. You can even say it's a family affair today. But we introduce to you none other than Charles Wells.
The one and only.
Glad to be here, guys. Glad to be here. Excited to be here.
So we're super honored that you joined us today.
I can understand.
It's an honor and privilege to have my big bro on the set today.
For sure.
Looking forward to the conversation, brother.
Absolutely. Cool. So let's hop right into it. Let's not waste any more time. So you want to start us off with the...
Today's quote is, "There's nothing like brotherly love."
That's good.
I like
That's
that.
good. I think it's very fitting.
Very
fitting. Yeah.
So let's talk about why we're all here today. So, y'all give them a little background about y'all's relationship. And I know for those of you that don't know these two, they're always together in all things real estate. And so it has totally become a family affair, but it hasn't always been that way.
Nope.
It didn't always start off that tight knit.
Agreed. It's so funny because Derek and I really look like, but he has obviously a twin brother, if you didn't know, and they look nothing alike. So I often get the fact that he is my brother anytime we go anywhere. But it's really cool of how our relationship has evolved. And I'm assuming you would say the same, because when we were growing up, I was heavy into sports, football and whatnot. And you had a really bad break in your knee, so you weren't able to play. And so that took you on a different path to more the arts and music. And we just butted heads from that. We were just on two different...
We used to fight all the time.
All the time. We were just on two different planes. And I went off to school to the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. And my other brother, Daryl, came with me. And you were left here in Texas. Stephen F. Austin. And from there, we didn't really connect a lot. We didn't talk daily or anything, nothing like we do now. But I don't know if you remember, but randomly, when I got out of school
and I went to Shreveport, and
I don't even know how do we connect? Like, how did it happen?
I think because SFA was like maybe 2 or 3 hours from Shreveport.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would just go down there. You were in party promotions.
Yes.
So I would go down there, just go kick it with you and chill. And that's when we started catching up.
Yeah, that's true.
After high school days.
Yeah. So if you can imagine going to school for 5 years and never really even calling your brother just to check in on him or just to talk, maybe on birthdays, maybe when I come back on the holidays, that was the extent of our relationship. Yeah. And now we talk on a day-to-day basis. And I can attribute that to real estate and entrepreneurship for sure. But I'm trying to pinpoint what was the turning moment for us. Like, when did we oh man, we're going to be best of friends from here on out.
We went to a conference. It was a Rich Dad, Poor Dad conference.
That's what it was. You're right.
And that's when we kind of got our niche for real estate.
Got it.
Interest for real estate.
Yes.
And I remember it because that was your mom's 40th birthday. And I missed it to go to that.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Wow.
I still don't live that one down.
No, because that party was epic. But
I didn't
clearly it was meant for that moment to happen for y'all to connect.
Yeah, that was cool. Because I remember sitting in the conference, now that you mentioned it, and I just remember how I realized you were equally, if not more so, passionate about this journey of entrepreneurship, wealth building, financial freedom as I was. And I had no idea. It was
Wow.
just crazy how two, you know,
The
we could be
synergies came
two,
together.
two synergies could come together when we were so close, and we should have obviously known we were on that path, but we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really cool.
That
Thought that was
is.
really
That's
cool.
very interesting. So
Yeah.
so after y'all left the conference, how did y'all keep that same energy, that same passion fueling together?
Yeah, that's a good question. Just a lot of randomness. You know, as young entrepreneurs, if you're listening, I'm sure you've gone through the process where you're just trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
So the trial and errors that I was having, I would communicate that to Derek, and Derek would do the same to me. And we partner on different things. Party Promotion was one. He had a company here in Houston, and I had one in Shreveport, Louisiana. So we were bouncing those things off. But it wasn't until I actually came down to Houston is where we really started to forge that relationship in real estate specifically. I'll never forget, I had moved down when I got out of the military, and we linked up to start touring model homes. Like he was my model home tour buddy.
So
And
you
we-
so you started.
and we
Okay,
used to go to
this
him
is making sense.
relentlessly. And I was blown away at it, you know, how nice the homes were, and he was equally as passionate. And I told him that I really wasn't thrilled about the life in corporate America. And he had this one suggestion that changed my life. He said, "Hey, I've got this real estate agent that I've used in the past. He's a really good friend of mine. We should all have lunch with him." And I'll shout him out, Darnell. Thank you for
Mr.
that.
Fuller.
He said we should go have lunch. We had lunch with Darnell, and we soaked up the information that he gave us, and we haven't looked back.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
powerful story. That's
Yeah.
really good.
Because in speaking with Darnell, number one, I didn't realize real estate agents could make the type of money that they can make.
Yes, I didn't either.
And so once our eyes got open to that, and we already had a passion and love real estate, we were like,
Done
it's a
deal.
It's a
no-brainer.
no-brainer. Yeah.
No-brainer.
Yeah. That makes
Absolute
sense.
no-brainer.
Yeah. And I think that was a pivotal part in our journey, because when Charles got out the military, he started working in corporate America. He hated his job there.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, bro, like, I'm really thinking about getting into real estate. Like, you should. And then we met with Darnell.
Yeah.
And then from there, we started Wells Brothers?
Yeah, Wells Brothers Realty.
Yeah,
Real
Wells
estate.
Brothers Realty.
I remember that.
Yeah. So we went to Remax, started that. I was still working in corporate at the time, and he went full throttle on being a real estate agent and building out the team.
You took the leap of faith first.
Yeah. That's, you know, as an older brother, that's kind of been my niche, where I've always tried to go out and take these crazy risks and take all the bruises and figure it out to be able to, you know, come back and say, hey, this is the good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And that's what we did with real estate, and it's panned out.
It has for sure. It has
panned
for sure.
out.
You actually, my very first real estate experience, I would say, I distinctly remember when I got my license, Derek was like, I'm doing it part-time. You should go and do the whole full-time journey. I think at this time you had like a lead that you were just like, we sat down at like a Panera Bread. You were like, hey, they want to see these houses. Go show them. And I was like, Charles, I don't, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. You were like, you'll figure it out.
I remember that.
So that was like my first like push into the world of real estate and actually just gaining my stride and gaining my confidence and figuring things out. And very much so, like, you two had figured it out. Like, y'all had cracked the code on lead generation and all without any mentorship.
That's true.
Yeah.
Which is huge to notice, because in real estate, if you know anything about real estate, it is a ever-changing, very detail-oriented business.
Absolutely.
And so to walk into real estate without the traditional coaching, without the traditional going to all these classes and having someone kind of guide you, like, y'all really went in and cracked the code. So talk about that experience, because I know that was probably a little... a bit
It was
much.
some bumps and bruises.
Yeah, it's definitely. The one thing I can say, and I get asked this question all the time, how have I been able to be so successful? And I tell people the same answer every time. My secret weapon is my family and my circle. It's as simple as that. We take for granted what we have, I think, as a family.
Yeah.
Specifically, you and I, Derek, with being brothers, going on this journey together.
Yeah.
You got somebody that you can literally obsess over one subject matter with. That's rare, right? That's
Yeah.
really rare, to take the bumps and the bruises, to get your feedback. You being a sounding board. My strengths and weaknesses, vice versa, and you're able to give me sound advice based on that. And then you become bigger than the sum of your parts, right? It's
Yeah,
not just two
absolutely.
people going. It's literally we're moving at a faster pace. Our trajectory is faster,
Yeah.
and that has been a huge advantage I think we've had. And then when you compound it with taking spouses like you, Amanda, and my wife who's not here, Stacy, and you compound that with the synergies, the support, the added resources and benefits of that, it just becomes huge. I always say, with the right spouse, you can go to the moon. Now, with the wrong one, you can't make it around the corner.
That's
You
facts.
can't make it around the corner with the wrong.
Yeah.
But with the right one, you can go to the moon. And I think that's been a help. And then the icing on the cake is just having parents that are in good health, that are financially secure, where they're not necessarily needing your resources, and they're able to pick up the kids when you need, invest in your business venture, give you that support. When you've got those three pieces with your siblings, your spouse, and your family, you can't lose.
Yeah,
You can't lose. So that's a big advantage I think we have over most. And I think that anybody who's listening, if you have that, really lean into it. You have to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like Charles said, it's been a blessing because Charles is much more willing to take risks. I'm
Very
risk
much
adverse.
more. I'll roll the dice. Quick, I'm rolling. 7-11.
And so he'll go and figure out the formula, but we'll collaborate. Even with his projects he's doing now, like we'll look through the accounting together and we'll just kind of share knowledge. And it's a blessing to have somebody that knows me. We know each other. We know, like he said, our strengths, our weakness since inception. You know what I'm saying? And we're able to pour into each other and just build each other up. And it's just been phenomenal to see where God has taken us and from where we came. And I just know the sky's the limit to where we're going.
For sure. And so that leads me to the next thing. So, okay, we kind of talked on the real estate agent, starting that business, Wells Brothers, all of that. But then flipping came into the picture.
Yes.
And that was something that you guys partnered up on and started to crack the code on that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, what was that journey like with you guys figuring that out together?
Yeah, no, that was crazy. It was crazy. So before we cracked the code on it, we took a major setback. I mean, major setback where it spiraled me into a 6-month depression. I can't speak to your mental state, but I'm assuming it wasn't great.
It was awful.
It was awful.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can imagine literally putting 6 figures into a project only to be scammed by, a professional criminal and losing that money and having to just literally start up and pick up the pieces, it's absolutely devastating. But the silver lining is when you're in a foxhole, I think with any situation, your relationship becomes stronger.
Absolutely.
And we had to lean on each other very heavily to dig ourselves out of that situation. And we didn't fight and bicker amongst each other. We just picked up the pieces and we just started figuring it out.
Yeah.
And out of that, honestly, is where we are today, right?
Yeah,
You pivoted to really focus on your real estate sales practice. I pivoted to really growing my rental portfolio. And that setback, I think, is the foundation to where we are today. So it's just beautiful to see. But the main thing that I take away is when going through something bad like that is horrible in itself. And if you're alone, it's 10 times worse. But if you're with somebody you can trust, somebody that has the most integrity, and somebody you can just lean on from an emotional standpoint to dig yourself back up, man, you got something really special. And I just appreciate you guys for that. Seriously. I never told you that.
Same here, brother.
Yeah, because that was a very trying time.
Oh, it was the worst.
It was that's
an understatement. It was terrible.
And that it could have made or broke.
We could have been done.
Yeah, y'all could have I mean, that could have gone really
Yes,
bad.
it really could. You take it for granted now.
Yeah.
Looking back,
Looking back.
You
Because
seriously.
I was only 2 or 3 months removed from leaving my job
Yeah.
when we found out that we had those properties and the guy had committed fraud. So I was like, did I make the right decision?
Yeah.
I probably should have stayed.
Yeah.
But like Charles said, we just kind of put our head down and started grinding and
Yeah.
digging out of the hole.
Yeah. And it led you to where you're supposed to be today. So I think a big lesson in that is knowing that in those setbacks, you never know where God is leading you to.
That's so
you
true.
never know why that setback
so
had to be put in your life in order to redirect your path.
Exactly.
Because a lot of times y'all could have looked at that and been like, I'm done with real estate.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with this no more. It's too much risk.
No.
I'm washing my hands of it.
Yes.
But your passions continue to fuel you to move forward. And that's huge.
Oh, it's humongous. It's
huge.
absolutely huge. And I just will speak to just, listening to your business partner, your spouse, and when they give words of encouragement, and then two, just being able to kind of reconcile on what happened from a non-emotional standpoint, and then moving forward and strategizing. I think something that I would say is one of our superpowers.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. And with being married, so we're in real estate together.
Yes.
So I get it. I get the struggles.
Right.
I'm in it with them. I'm like, okay, let's just keep moving. But with having a wife that's not in it,
yes,
how is, I know that support has to be there.
Oh, it does. It does. And it's really unique in the sense that because she's not in real estate and really not in business, so to speak.
Yeah.
You have to, as an entrepreneur, from my vantage point, I have to be really patient with her when explaining the ventures, because like you said, I'm taking a lot of risk,
right?
And there's no guarantee that it's gonna pan out.
Yeah.
So the advice I would give everybody: number one, try to get some early wins if you can. Try to get some early successes, build up a little equity. But then two, just overly communicate. So I give her the pros and the cons, the risk and the upside of rewards of each project, and then kind of we make a joint decision to move forward. But the one thing that I told her that I thought that really connected us to, I gave her the analogy of her journey and mine. Mm-hmm. So as an entrepreneur, you go through this journey where you don't really know what you're doing, right? You're investing a lot of money. You're trying to figure things out. But the world will tell you you're not successful at that particular time, right? You're really not successful until you got the beautiful house and the fancy cars and et cetera, right? Conversely, if I explained it to Stacy, my wife, is that when you're going through residency, you're taking out a ton of capital, right? You're spending a lot of money. You're taking out debt, and you're learning on the job, right? You're learning through these mistakes. But the difference is society is patting you on the back during that period. Yeah, it's a similar process. It's just the way it's perceived.
Absolutely.
Once I was able to bring it down to her like that, we really started to connect, and she started to empathize on where I was at my journey, and she also could see where I was going.
That is really good.
So
that's a great
analogy.
Man,
I need to start selling it like that.
Listen, you've done your fair share of selling. I think we're good.
That's fair.
I think we're good.
That's funny.
But another thing that I think is important too, and that is, when you are in entrepreneurship and your spouse isn't, you really do have to take them along on the journey with you.
You do.
You have to let them see that those hours that you're putting in is not in vain. And a lot of times, if you're not on an entrepreneurship journey, your spouse can assume that you have so much free time.
Yes.
And that your days are just filled with leisurely activities when you have you're never off the clock.
You really aren't. You just got to turn the clock off.
Right.
Yeah, you're never off. No, you're absolutely right.
You have to lean on your support system. You have to have a good...
It's critical.
Yeah.
It's absolutely critical. I think that from our vantage point, the one thing that we do really well is, number one, obviously we communicate. But I definitely let her know what it takes to execute these strategies.
Yeah.
I don't just leave her in the dark on how the sausage is made, so to speak.
Right.
And so once she's able to get behind the curtains and she sees what goes into me having to come up with a strategy and then execute the strategy and then deal with all the contingencies and all the setbacks along the way, she's gained an appreciation for what I do. And with the appreciation comes the respect and the admiration, I think.
That's good. That's good.
That is good.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen Stacy over the course of y'all marriage, and she has always been down for your vision.
Oh man, I
Always
couldn't
been
have
down
picked
for
a
you.
better
Ride or
one.
die for sure.
Ride or die for sure.
Yeah, it's a significant advantage.
Yeah.
Significant advantage. I say all the time that her support and just her belief in me is truly the fuel that has led to my success, because it's you can't put a price tag on it.
Yeah.
The value is unmeasurable.
That's good.
Yeah, it really is. So shout out to you, babe. Shout out.
She is an avid watcher, so
Yes.
she'll see
Yeah.
this
Oh
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's awesome. It truly is.
As you went through your real estate journey, you've acquired over 30 rental properties.
Uh-huh.
And you started to coin yourself as a real estate collector.
Correct.
What made you decide to go on that journey?
Well, my background is the military, right?
Mhm.
So it's a very structured career path where you work 20 plus years and then you walk away in your 40s with a nice pension. Well, once I transitioned from the military, I went to corporate America, and it wasn't as cut and dry, but it still had that same blueprint. So when I went to entrepreneurship, at the same time, Stacy kind of ventured into entrepreneurship-ish, if you will, too, because she didn't have a company backing her. So we had no retirement plan. So I had the foresight, after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and doing a lot of real estate and financial education, I knew that passive income was the name of the game. I remember vividly us playing Cash Flow 101,
Yeah.
a game that I highly recommend everybody play.
Absolutely.
And it just clicked to me that, the real way to win this game of money is to have your money working for you.
Absolutely.
And so the big thing that we did as a couple is that as soon as we got married, we immediately delayed our gratification and moved in with our mom. And shout out to my mom who let us do that. And we saved a significant amount of money, but more importantly, it allowed us to establish my entrepreneurial journey, and it got us on a cadence of living off of one income.
Yeah.
So once we lived off of one income and I actually figured out the real estate agent game, we made sure that we didn't expose or we didn't scale up our lifestyle based on what I was making. We used all of my money to invest in real estate. And I just had the foresight that one property today was going to be worth more tomorrow, and the passive income was going to be able to allow us to expand our lifestyle on passive income instead of earned income. And it's made all the difference.
It takes a lot of discipline.
Oh my gosh.
That takes a lot
Now
of
the
discipline.
secret, here's the secret. The secret is to not scale up your lifestyle to begin with.
Yeah.
Because once you scale it up,
It's
you
hard to
can't
go
go
back.
back.
It's
You
hard
can't
to
go
go
back.
back.
Once you go to filet mignon, there ain't no way you doing hamburger
No,
helper.
you're
You
not.
can't do it.
You're not.
Yeah.
So just delaying that and then expanding as the passive income comes in has been a game changer.
Yeah.
An absolute game changer. So that's the advice I would give.
And you guys, y'all stayed at mom's for about a year plus.
Yeah, year plus. Yeah. We'd still be there if it was up to me. But she was like, hey,
Yeah,
she's like, hey, enough's enough. No, it was a season. But yeah, it was honestly, it was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. But that's a testament to Stacy, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
coming out as a doctor, she's up making obviously good money. We could afford something really nice, much nicer than we were staying. And she just did it without complaining or without any type of pushback whatsoever. And it just to kind of give a little bit of her background, she saw her brother do that years prior with his family, and they stayed with her parents, and she saw the fruits of that labor. So it's just I was just fortunate enough that she had that in her background.
Yeah.
And it's just all worked out for us.
Yeah. Because as a culture, I feel like a lot of times we don't want to
Yes,
Like,
it's a now. Yes,
it's
now.
so hard for us to tap into, hey, let's give our kids the space to come back into our house to get themselves in a good position where they can go and be fruitful and make sure that they're their savings is set up,
Right.
or they're getting on their feet after coming home
Right,
from college.
right.
Like, I think that that's a stigma that's going to have to change
Yeah.
in our community, and we'll see a lot of wealth building
Absolutely.
if we take that step.
Especially in today's time, because affordability is such a big issue.
That's so true.
Absolutely.
I mean, coming out of college right now, if you making $50,000-$60,000, it's hard to just hop and go buy a house.
Yeah.
With the interest rates at 7%. So
Yeah.
I think it is going to be more common where people go back, stay at home for a while, save their money, and start building for their future. And then once you have a good nest egg, then jumping out there and going to purchase a house.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then in your case with collecting real estate, you've put your kids in a position where when they are, back home from school, or if they decide to move back into Houston, take your pick.
Yeah.
Take your pick. You don't have to worry about increased living expenses. You don't have to worry about all of that.
Right.
And not only that, then you can also leave a legacy.
That's the thing. That's
and legacy is
that's
important.
key.
That's the absolute thing. I look back, and I don't know how much you know about this, but at our family, and my aunt, she set up a legacy for my mom. She helped out significantly with us just from a financial standpoint. And that was I believe has allowed her to be in a financial position to help us out.
Yeah.
And then that in turn allowed us to help our kids out even more. So that one act by my great aunt, in the 60s, 70s is still bearing fruit, right? So that just seeing that and knowing that history, I just feel obligated to continue that on and pass that legacy on to my kids. More so than the money, it's just the opportunities and the foresight and the discipline. That requires. And I think how powerful that was. I have a lot of extended family members, but I can remember vividly that her picture was on the wall at our house. And I always wondered why, of all people, she was, but that was why.
I actually was talking to Mom about that yesterday.
Really?
She said she bought that house Lily bought that house for $30,000.
Shut up.
And she said when she passed away, her life insurance paid off the house.
Wow.
So when she inherited the house, it was paid off.
That's beautiful. Just think how big that was in that time in the 80s to not have a house note. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That means we didn't have to move. We didn't have to go from place to place or house to house.
Yeah.
Not to say we would anyway, but we were right there the whole time.
She still owns that house today.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But just seeing that and looking back on how powerful that legacy was, I just feel compelled to just do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just part of the family tradition at this point.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And we were even talking about our house that we have in downtown, just leaving that for the kids.
Yeah.
That'd be their house once they get out of college and
want to live in the city or have city life or whatever the case. But for sure.
Yeah. No, it's big. I believe that economic mobility will become more and more difficult in the near future.
Absolutely.
And I think it is important, as you stated, that from a culture standpoint, we get very comfortable with helping each other.
Yes.
Yeah, especially from a family standpoint. Families should work together to build wealth. It's as simple as that.
Yes.
I can count countless times where we work together in one form or another. And that has been the reason why I think we've ascended so fast. And I think if more families did that, they would see much better results instead of working apart. Now, that's a two-way street, right?
Yeah.
Mom letting us stay there. She's expecting stay there rent-free. She's expecting us to actually use that as a stepping stone. So we can't misuse that or take advantage of that. And then vice versa, she has to be willing to do that for us. So it's a two-way street, because I'm assuming that wasn't the most comfortable thing for her to do after we had already left the house. So once again, if just families would work together, I think that we could see some significant change in economic growth like you wouldn't believe.
Absolutely.
Hey, Wealth of Wealth community. Are you working right now?
I'm just trying to get to the bag, baby, selling these houses.
Really? If you're looking to buy or sell a house here in the Houston area, please contact the Wells team, but not during the podcast. Maybe we can put that away until it's done.
I got you.
Okay. All right, cool.
Back to the podcast.
All right. Well, that is the perfect segue for Wealth Avenue. Welcome to Wealth Avenue, which is our segment of the show where we give you tips and tricks on your journey to success. And so who wants to go first? Who wants to share their final thoughts and kind of help us?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I would say there's a lot of power when you leverage people in your family to build what you're trying to build.
Agreed.
And Charles has been the cornerstone. He has been super instrumental in me being able to step out on faith. Like he said, he's pretty much the test dummy.
Yeah, really am.
But it's a blessing to have somebody that will give you the game, that will walk you through every step of the way and make sure that I'm successful. So I just take my hat off to my brother. I love him. I appreciate him. And it is an honor and a blessing to have somebody like him in my life.
Yeah, cool. Well, I got 2 tips. Number 1 would just be kind of our wealth formula and just really understanding that it's very simple. Try to increase your income as much as possible and live off 50% or less. And the rest of it, invest it to make more income. It's as simple as that. And then the other thing that I would say to kind of piggyback on what you said is the importance of having integrity with relationships, right? The reason why that we have this relationship is because we treat each other with respect, integrity. I'm not screwing you over. I'm looking out for your best interest and vice versa. And that's allowed us to grow. If I were doing bad business or, not acting in integrity, even being my brother, you would not do business with me.
Yeah.
Right. And that goes with friends. So just having that as a cornerstone, as cheesy and cliche as it is, or it might sound, that really allows you to build strong relationships. And those strong relationships is what will grow your wealth.
Absolutely.
That's good. And I'll wrap it up by saying, I love y'all's relationship. I truly do. With us having 3 boys of our own, I really hope and pray that they see what you guys have done and what y'all have created, and they take that same blueprint and they work together and leverage each other and truly build a community where they can lean on each other and build their families together. And we've created such a name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And y'all have really truly just been the leaders, the pioneers behind that. So thank you to you both for that.
You.
And y'all are, again, a huge inspiration. I know a lot of people look up to you guys. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
So, all right. Well, that brings us to the conclusion of our show. Charles, let everybody know where they can find you, what you have going on right now.
Yeah, so you can find me at Instagram. That's probably the easiest way, at charlie.realestate. That's charlie.realestate. And I am the real estate collector, and I have a program called 0 to 1 where I help individuals buy their first or next rental property. And not only that, I just don't help you just buy a property, but I help you understand the real estate game in general. So check that out. Look forward to helping anybody I possibly can. And I thank you guys for having me on this podcast.
Absolutely.
I had a blast.
Appreciate you coming, brother.
Yeah.
No problem. Anytime.
And so if you are watching, make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube. Be sure to follow us on all of your favorite podcast streaming apps. You can catch us on all of your social media platforms at Wells of Wealth Podcast, and we hope to see you next time. Bye.
Cheers.